Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this is the iPhone 12 Pro Max. This comes in at $1,099 with 128 gigabytes of storage, and that's double what we got last year with the 11 Pro Max, so you get that for the same price. Now for $1,199, you get 256 gigabytes of storage, and then for $1,399, you have 512 gigabytes of storage. It comes in 4 different colors. You have a new Pacific blue, you have silver, graphite, and this color, gold. This is the 512 gigabyte gold model, so let's go ahead and unbox it and take a look. Now this is the box, so let's go ahead and unbox this. You know they're a little bit smaller this year than last year's, like I showed in other videos. Open it up. And this is, like I said, the gold variant. So let's take the top off here of the box, and this is the phone. And those cameras are much bigger than I thought they would be. Let me set the phone aside for just a moment. And inside the box, we've got the USB-C to Lightning port connector. So you can charge with that if you'd like. And then also we've got a little bit of paperwork. We've got a SIM card removal tool and then an Apple sticker. So nothing really unexpected there. Let's set this aside and take a closer look at the phone. And so here is the phone itself. Let's take the covering off the screen. And the phone is incredibly shiny on this gold outside ring. And this is a new coating, I guess, that Apple put on here that helps it sort of reduce fingerprints, make it easier to wipe off, and be more durable. So it's pretty interesting. A special high-power impulse magnetron sputtering process. And it's supposed to be very dense so that it doesn't wear off very easily. Now, this is a very large phone. The cameras are very large. I'll compare them in just a moment, but on the outside edge, like I said, it's stainless steel. You've got your power sleep wake button, your 5G millimeter wave antenna that we have in the United States, a couple antenna lines, top and bottom. On the bottom, you have your Lightning port. You also have a microphone and speaker with another antenna line. On the left-hand side of the phone, you've got your SIM card tray, you've got volume up and down, and your silent switch, as you would expect. On the top, nothing really there. You can see that the cameras do stick out a little bit, maybe a little bit further than the other one, I'm not sure. And then we have glass on the back and the front. We have this nice sort of matte finish on the back, and then our normal glass on the front, which is ceramic shield, which should be about 4 times less likely to break in the event that you drop your phone. Now, this is a fairly heavy phone. Let me show you next to the 11 Pro Max. So this is an 11 Pro Max in space gray, and the iPhone 12 Pro Max is slightly taller. It's also slightly heavier. The iPhone 11 Pro Max is 7.97 ounces or 226 grams. The iPhone 12 Pro Max is 8.03 ounces or 228 grams. So it's not terribly heavy, but it is a little bit heavier. So you'll get the idea if I turn it to the side here with the squared off edges. Again, the 12 Pro Max is a little bit taller and it looks pretty good overall. I think it's a nice size. It definitely feels large, especially because it's a squared off edge design. Now, as a comparison with other phones this year, here's the iPhone 12 Pro. So you can see the 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max. They're very similar as far as thickness, but the overall size is definitely different. And then also the iPhone 12 mini this year. So the 12 and the 12 Pro are the same size. The 12 mini is really small. It's about up to the middle of the bottom camera, from the bottom of the iPhone 12 Pro Max to the middle of the bottom camera on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. So the mini is pretty small, and then width-wise, here's an idea of what they look like. So they're very different in size overall. Here's this year's models as far as size is compared, and they're pretty good size differences. I don't know that everyone's going to want the Max because it's so big. Now, when it comes to the overall specs, well, inside we have an A14 Bionic with what is believed to be 6 gigabytes of RAM. I'll verify that a little bit later after setting up the phone. And then with the display, let me go ahead and turn it on. Wait for it to boot up here. Hopefully it's charged. There we go. This is a very large 6.7-inch display, 2,778 by 1,284 with 458 pixels per inch. This year, they are all Super Retina XDR displays, so they should all be nice and vibrant. And this one has HDR, True Tone, Wide Color P3, 800 nits of brightness, and goes up to 1,200 nits of brightness when playing HDR video. So it should be really nice, just like the iPhone 12 Pro, basically the same displays, same brightness and everything there. Now, before we set this up, let's talk about the cameras. The forward-facing camera this year is pretty much the same on all of them. It's a 12 megapixel true depth camera with an f2.2 aperture, and it's a little bit wider, I think, than last year's. It records 4K 60 video or 30 frames per second using Dolby Vision HDR. Now, the rear cameras is where this phone's a little bit different and a little more interesting. Of course, we have the LiDAR sensor that everyone's familiar with now. This helps with autofocus when it's dark or just in regular light as well if it's needed, and then also with augmented reality for depth sensing. So it's a really nice option to have on the phone. But here we have 3 different cameras, and this year we have all 12 megapixel sensors like we've had for a while, but what we get with the regular sensor or the regular wide sensor is it has a 47% larger sensor with sensor shift stabilization. So cameras like the one I'm recording with now has that for, or has had that for a while. It's called IBIS, or in-body image stabilization. It's the same idea. It sort of puts the sensor on a float and helps with sensor stabilization. Maybe we'll test that a little bit later. It also has a wider f1.6 aperture, just like the Pro models this year, or all of the iPhones this year. Then we have an ultra-wide f2.4 aperture lens, as well as an f2.2 aperture telephoto lens, but with a 2.5 optical zoom up to 12x. So they say 5x optical zoom using the sensor to sort of zoom in, but it also can go up to 12x zoom. And again, we have that LiDAR sensor. Now, internally, the battery should be good for up to 20 hours of video playback, 3 hours more than they claim for the iPhone 12. And then it's about the same claims as far as the iPhone 11 Pro Max. It's also IP68 water resistant up to a depth of 6 meters for up to 30 minutes. Now let's flip this around and go ahead and set it up. Now I've connected the iPhone 12 Pro to the 12 Pro Max so I can set it up with the account, and I'll transfer data a little bit later. So we'll go ahead and set up Face ID. There we go. And then you just move your head around like this. Do it one more time. There we go. The face scan is complete. We'll go ahead and hit continue. And then it's asking me if I want to transfer data. I'm not going to do any of that right now. I'm going to set it up as new and then come back later and do that part. We'll agree to the terms and conditions. Now it's asking me if I want to restore from an iCloud backup. Like I said, I'm going to just set it up as new for now. We'll go and carry the settings from the iPhone 12 Pro to this phone. We'll go ahead and hit continue. Keep the phone up to date. We'll hit continue. Now it's asking if I want to set up Apple Pay. I'll skip this for now, do it a little bit later. Do I want to improve Siri and dictation? Do you want to share app analytics with developers? And then display zoom. You can have it zoomed or standard. I'll leave it as standard and hit continue. And then it says swipe up to get started. So we should be on the home screen. There we go. And now we're at the home screen with everything set as default. So it's asking if it wants to use this phone for my location. I'll say not now, since I'll move everything over later so that I can have it mirror what I have on the iPhone 12 Pro. And so as you can see here, the displays look really nice on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. It looks great. Should go nice and bright, like I said. Should be good that way. And it's a huge display. That 6.7 inches is definitely noticeable as far as the display width. And then also, this display does have PWM, so that does mean it's flickering. But in my use with the iPhone 12 Pro, the display must have a high enough PWM rate that it doesn't bother my eyes. So as you can see, it's actually flickering now. As you adjust the brightness, it's actually constantly flickering. I don't find this to be a problem on these new displays. The rate is high enough. It does bother some people that have sensitivity to light, but these have not bothered me at all. Now, as far as the version installed, before I set this up, I went through the initial setup. It had to update to iOS 14.2. So it must have come with iOS 14.1 on it. I had to install that update, so we'll go to About, and you'll see that it's now updated to iOS 14.2, 18b92. So that particular version was not installed, at least on this phone, when I first set it up. So let me install a couple apps so we can see how much RAM this phone has, and then also test out the speakers. Now, while I wait for a couple apps to install, you can see this is definitely a fingerprint magnet, but let me go ahead and swap the SIM card here so we can test out 5G as well. So go ahead and put the SIM card in place. There we go. We'll wait for it to connect with 5G. It will take just a moment. We'll turn off Wi-Fi. And we have 5G, so we're good to go there. Now I've installed Geekbench 5. Let's take a look at the RAM on this phone. Wait for it to load, and you'll see it's 5.58 gigabytes or 6 gigabytes. So it's got the A14 Bionic, like I said. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the speed test with 5G. I don't have millimeter wave since it's T-Mobile, so let's go ahead and hit go. We'll wait for it here for a moment. Let's see what we get. We've got 2 bars of 5G, and I've gotten up to over 75 in this specific spot. So it looks like I'm going to get the same 75 megabits per second down. Wait for it to complete. And now we've got an upload of, so far, about 8 to 9 megabits per second. I've seen this go much higher. It just depends where you're located and how far you are from the closest cell tower. But generally, I get about half this with 4G and similar speeds with upload depending on where I'm at, like I said. And this will transition back and forth from 4G to 5G based on where you're located, whether or not it's advantageous to use 5G. And you can go to cellular settings. You see under cellular data options, we have voice and data. We can switch it between 5G always on, auto, or LTE. If you have 5G in your area, I'd leave it on auto. I haven't noticed much of a battery difference on the iPhone 12 Pro, whether it be on 5G all the time or LTE, but some will notice a difference. Now, as far as the speakers, let's take a listen, see how loud they go, see what they sound like at full volume. And let's go over to YouTube. This is my iPhone 12 Pro review. So let's go ahead and hit play. I'll rotate it here. Quite a few, as you can see here. This is the same sort of area that I'm in now. And I think they look pretty good in general. They're nice and clear, and even the night photos look amazing, of course, if you're using a 30-second... So it goes nice and loud. I got up to 83 decibels using the Apple Watch, and so that part seems to be about the same. You have that nice wide stereo sound. Now let's take a look at some of the options for the camera. So if we go into settings, we'll go down to camera here. And like I said, this one can record 4K 60 frames per second in Dolby Vision HDR 10-bit. So it's pretty incredible footage. If you've seen the iPhone 12 Pro review that I did, it was recorded with an iPhone 12 Pro. I think it looks pretty good, but you need the right display to view it. Now we'll go into the camera, and you'll see we have 1x, 2.5x. So let me take the iPhone 12 Pro, put it back here, and 2.5x, of course, ultra wide, 1x, 2.5, and then we can zoom way in to 12x. Maybe snap a photo here, see what it looks like. So it's going to be a little bit grainy since it's not all optical zoom, but it's nice that you have that option. Of course, I'm interested to see what low light is like. And then again, video up to 4K 60. I'll record the end of this video using this camera so you can see what it's like with the microphones. Now let's take a look at the forward-facing camera of the iPhone 12 Pro Max. We'll spin it around, switch to video, and hit record. Now I'm recording with the forward-facing camera of the iPhone 12 Pro Max. This should be the same as the iPhone 12, but now you can hear what the microphone sounds like, see what the camera is like in the same environment that I'm recording this video in. Now this phone has MagSafe, like all of the other iPhone 12s this year, and to see the magnets, here's some magnet paper. You can see it here. So you can see the speaker here and the microphone array, and then MagSafe with a little line to align things that might spin. So you've got that. And then, of course, MagSafe itself, the wireless charger. So it holds on pretty nice there. And then also, there's cases that have MagSafe as well. So here is the iPhone 12 Pro Max leather case that has MagSafe built in black here. We'll set this aside. And again, this has MagSafe built in, so it holds the case and then goes on the phone. And this should look pretty good with gold. There we go. As soon as you put it on, it knows that it's a black case, gives you a little ring indicating that. And then, of course, you can charge with this. You can fast charge in 30 minutes, up to 50% with a plugged-in charger with the 20-watt adapter, or at 15 watts with the MagSafe adapter at its maximum, up to 80%. So it's really nice that you have that this year. It's a little bit different. It makes it much easier to align the wireless charger and much faster. Now, as far as just using the iPhone 12 Pro Max for this video, the phone feels enormous. It's much bigger feeling than the iPhone 11 Pro Max, and I think that's just due to the squared off sides. I have huge hands, and when using the iPhone 12 Pro, it actually feels about the same size as the 11 Pro Max, even though it isn't. So there is definitely a noticeable size difference due to the edge, but I think it's more grippy because of that as well. So that's it for the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Max. Now I'm recording with the rear-facing camera on the iPhone 12 Pro Max without any external microphone. So this is just that video right through there. Of course, it's not an HDR, so I'll try HDR later. If you want to see that, let me know. And then also, if you're getting an iPhone 12 Pro Max, let me know which one you're getting and which color you're getting in the comments below. If not, let me know what you're sticking with or switching to as well. If you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, of course, I'll link it in the description like I normally do. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.